Attention, this is Martin H. at Temporal Discussion, login experiment TD14F. The time, the early 90s. Make a TV series that's a cross between LARPing and Challenge Annika, and you can alter the very fabric of children's television. In the 21st century, detailed information on a certain Broadsword Productions BBC Two show has been mostly mislaid. A basic Wikipedia page, a brief mention on the Nightmare Lexicon and UK game shows, and a complete absence of an IMDb page. But we will find it, watch it, and use it to provide a complete episode retrospective of TimeBusters. Welcome, Time Vandals, to Temporal Discussion, the episode-by-episode Nightmare Retrospective podcast. I'm Martin Harder, and for this Time Busters special, I'm joined by Nightmare aficionado, highly efficient podcast editor, and writer of this script, Jake Collins.
Greetings, listeners. I'm really excited to be doing this Time Busters episode, and I mean that most sincerely. I think that was a pretty fair self-assessment I wrote there, don't you, Martin?
Yeah, I think so.
We'll start off with a few words about Time Busters in general. I've seen the other Broadsword shows, clips of them, a few episodes, The Satellite Game, Cyberzone, and, of course, Virtually Impossible. And I really do think Time Busters is the only one that comes anywhere close to Nightmare for the ideas behind it, for its premise, for the ways it's pulled off. So I do enjoy Time Busters quite a lot. I'm very glad to have been rediscovering it. I do find The Satellite Game, Cyberzone, and Virtually Impossible, to be completely honest with you, Martin, boring.
I don't know enough about The Satellite Game to comment on that, but yeah, I agree with Virtually Impossible. I think it was kind of, well, both that and Cyberzone were kind of, the technology wasn't ready for what they wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's too rushed to try and use this tech to make a TV show. What I basically object to about all three of those things is it's watching people play computer games, and I do not find that entertaining.
Yeah, we've got Games Master for that anyway.
Nightmare and Time Busters are watching people play games, but genuinely exciting, entertaining, interactive, immersive fantasy role-play games, which is not the same thing as watching people playing computer games at all, I find. People used to do it to me, Martin. I used to go around to their houses 30 years ago and more to play. And they'd say, oh, let's play on the PS2. Oh, I'll show you my Sega. And I end up sitting there for 2 hours watching them play computer games. And that irritated the life out of me.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I certainly think that that is what I don't like about those other Broadsword shows.
I had a friend, still have a friend, shout out to Richard, he used to go around his house and play Super Mario Brothers. And of course, the way Super Mario Brothers works is you take it in turns, you don't play together. But the trouble is, he was so bloody good at it, I never got a turn.
Yeah, I had very similar experiences. I remember being stuck on a console for Street Fighter, and then the friend would always just play against the computer. Is that the Richard who used to dress up as Lord Fear for you?
Yes, that's the same Richard, yeah.
I'll give you a shout out for that same Richard. That's why I do like Time Busters, because it's not watching people playing a computer game, it's watching people playing like Nightmare, an immersive, interactive fantasy roleplay. One thing Rosey and I do on our podcast about Time Busters is compare the realism of Nightmare and Time Busters. Rosey has this memory of one point when she was about 8 or 9, thinking, well, I like Time Busters more. She says, oh, perhaps I was a bit superficial at the time, because it's real. They're actually there in a real environment doing it. And it's certainly true that it creates this fantasy world in that different way from Nightmare. Nightmare does it wonderfully with all its computer work, obviously, and it draws us all in. It's a wonderful immersive fantasy world, Nightmare. But Time Busters doing it in that different way, I think works very well too, and provides a bit of contrast to Nightmare, makes it different from Nightmare, and yet obviously a kind of sister show. So I think they complement each other quite well.
Yeah. It's a much faster paced show than Nightmare. It's kind of like Nightmare meets Interceptor in a way.
Yeah. Sometimes I think of Time Busters as true LARPing because of the real environment.
Mm.
But really, it's LARPing in a different way from Nightmare. And it does create some different effects in the resulting show. Obviously, Nightmare is very insular. Anyone who's there in the program has been invited into the studio, it's being paid to be there. And in Time Busters, you can get like real people joining in to kind of expand the world.
Mm.
But of course, the price you pay sometimes for that is gawking bystanders who obviously aren't really part of the immersive fantasy. And that I find can take the viewers out of the illusion a bit sometimes.
Mm.
As in Futuroscope and The Pride of Bilbao, you were discussing with both of those, gawking bystanders were noticeable, if not a problem exactly.
Yeah, this episode in particular, it seems that they've closed like the station off.
They have.
Yeah.
Obviously, in this one, the Heritage Railway is not open to the public, and so the alternative to your gawking bystanders, cross-looking woman being interviewed by Samantha Perkins, is that you get a distinct lack of passengers on a supposedly public train service.
Yeah.
So either way, it turns out to be a little awkward, takes you out of the fantasy a bit, but I still think overall that live action LARPing for Time Busters does work very well, and as I say, does provide a nice alternative to Nightmare.
Yeah. And I'd like to say in regards to this episode as well, obviously the last episode I did with Jason was an episode that affected me personally because of the location, which isn't easily available to people. This one is out there on the usual channels, I won't say where, but it is available, so you can watch along with this one if you like.
Today we're looking at Series 2, Episode 13, which was broadcast on BBC Two at 10 a.m. on Sunday the 23rd of January 1994. At this point, the top spot at the box office was still occupied by Disney's Aladdin. I say still, because as you may remember, this was also the #1 movie during the Pride of Bilbao episode. I love Aladdin. It's one of the 4 Disney movies that hold a special place in my heart for being such a huge part of my childhood.
Yeah.
The other 3 being The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, which was the first film I ever saw at the cinema, and The Lion King.
So essentially the 4 tentpole movies of the Disney Renaissance, really.
They really are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Didn't see The Little Mermaid at the cinema, actually. But
I did.
we had it out of the video shop so many times. It was wonderful.
I miss video shops. I really do.
Absolutely brilliant, wasn't it? Really special. Go down there, rent the video, drop it through the drop box when you're finished with it.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, in the singles chart, D-Ream were at #1 with the remix of Things Can Only Get Better, which had first charted for them 1 year earlier. The single entered the top 20 for a 3rd time in May 1997, thanks, of course, to Tony Blair and New Labour using it as their campaign song as they managed to kick the Tories out of government for the first time since 1979, and then carried on doing everything that the Tories did.
Isn't that always the way? I mean, it's what's happening now.
Yeah.
And now podcast capsule activated, retrospective analysis confirmed.
Welcome aboard my time bus. McNulty's the name, preserving the future my aim. Now, the only problem is there are people who want to wreck the future by vandalizing the past. And they're the ones we're out to get. Isn't that right, Buster?
Absolutely, Gav. But it beats me how we're going to do it if you don't let this week's team aboard.
Quite right, I was getting a bit carried away. Right, on you get, and up the top, please. Quick as you can.
As this is the final episode of Series 2, it's also the final appearance of Michael Troughton as Professor McNulty. Personally, I feel it was a huge mistake to get rid of the human host and rely solely on the Vactor version of Buster for Series 3. Just consider the difference in the Time Busters Go bit that always kicks off the main action of the game. When you got Professor McNulty outside the bus encouraging them on their way, Time Busters, go, 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 go. That's great stuff. Same when he's beckoning them back to the bus at the end and they hand him the time capsule.
Yeah, it's kind of got this bit of urgency to it.
Exactly. all that stuff going on with just the red face. Timebusters go, oh, come on back to the bus and stick the time capsule in a couple of claws. It's not the same. It's not nearly as good, I find.
No, and obviously Nick Collette does a fine job, but it doesn't beat having someone physically there.
It's all about the style, presentation, rather than any criticism of the actors at this stage. I've got to tell you, Martin, I was absolutely not for 6. I've got to tell you, because I've written it here in the script. When I first saw Series 3, that's the Treguard character gone from the show. I was particularly surprised because I thought they'd already made their presenters streamlining decision after Series 1 by getting rid of TJ at the same time as the yellow team of Timebusters. Course. So they didn't need one host for looking after each team. But I guess, in a way, it's the direction Treguard was heading in. If we think of Nightmare VR from 2004, with that stupid Garstang the Orc thing presenting, and Hugo Myatt demoted to an in-game avatar.
Yeah.
Tim Child already seems to be getting on the path of wanting these Vactor faces to be the hosts.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is it's probably budget cuts. Budget reasons. It's probably cheaper for them to use the Vactor technology because it's their technology that they've already developed than it is to hire extra actors.
What an interesting point that is. It should link in nicely to the next bit. Just before we get on to that, it made me seriously worry in late 94, early 95, when we come back for Nightmare Series 9 in September, which surely to God is going to happen, are we going to see some sort of weird computer-generated face instead of Hugo Myatt as Treguard? It wouldn't really be Nightmare, would it?
No, it would be weird. Like if it was presented by the Brolocken or something.
Exactly. I do think Timebusters without Michael Troughton is still Timebusters. The presentation isn't nearly as good, but it is still Timebusters.
Yeah.
The game still works. But Nightmare without Hugo Myatt would not be Nightmare.
No. You know, it could be worse. At least it's not being presented by a cartoon fish with a human nose.
Yes, that was a very strange choice with Codsby.
Did Michael Troughton jump or was he pushed, do you think?
It's such an interesting question, that. And the way you describe it there is budget saving. Perhaps Tim Child wasn't as keen to hold on to Michael Troughton as he would have been to hold on to Hugo Myatt. I mean, I say that, and I always complain about how much Treguard is shoved into the background in Nightmare Series 8. He does seem to come across as something of an afterthought, I think. But then to actually consider doing it without him, surely Tim Child would never have done that. But perhaps to save that money by not spending it on a human host, perhaps he was more prepared to push Michael Troughton. Or did Michael Troughton want to leave? I would love to know the answer to that. If you listen to Rosey and me discussing the Series 1 two-parter, which is also available widely on those platforms you deliberately didn't mention, on our own podcast, which will be linked in the description, won't it?
Yes.
Which we recorded about 3.5 years before this, so we know quite a lot more about it now. But you'll hear us there speculating about why Tim Child might not have been quite so keen to hang on to Michael Troughton as he was to Hugo Myatt. As Rosey says, Michael Troughton didn't always make it pop. Now, of course, there's also the issue of Hugo Myatt has 8 years and more tenure on the show.
Yeah.
Michael Troughton has 2. And I must stress again, I do like Michael Troughton presenting the show as Professor McNulty, and I think it suffers a great deal without him. But I don't think he's as good as Treguard, and he doesn't always, as Rosey says, make it pop, really put his stamp on the show and make himself indispensable.
No, that's the thing. Hugo Myatt was Nightmare, whereas Timebusters without Michael Troughton is still Timebusters. I mean, even in Nightmare VR, they had to bring Hugo Myatt back in some form.
They had to, didn't they? Otherwise, we wouldn't have accepted it at all.
But it turns out we didn't accept it at all anyway.
This thought we had about Michael Troughton was really based mainly on the Series 1 two-parter, but it's also true in Series 2. Sometimes he doesn't really inhabit the character of Professor McNulty, and he's just kind of trying to, as Rosey says, get them through the show without particularly being in character. When you've got someone like Hugo Myatt as Treguard, and dare I say it, Martin, James Mackenzie as Raven, if they say something in their host presenter role, which isn't particularly in character. It's also not out of character, and thus it becomes part of the character.
Yeah.
Whereas Michael Troughton, at times, I do feel like he's just sort of Michael Troughton mumbling away, trying to get them through this rather complicated premise.
Yeah.
Get them through the show. So in that way, that's why we say on that podcast, he doesn't make it pop in the same way.
I wonder if that's why they gave Buster a Cockney accent, so that anything you just say that was out of character would still sound natural. I do want to set the record straight about Raven as well. I don't have a problem with Raven. My issue with Raven is that people keep telling me, oh, it's like Nightmare, and it's not. Okay, there is like a overarching storyline that has a fantasy setting, and it's got a bloke with a beard, and that's like the similarity is there. And I like Raven. I've only watched it recently, but I like it. It's a good show. It's a good old-fashioned game show for kids, but it's not Nightmare.
I thought on episode 4 of series 5, Temporal Discussion, Amy was making a very interesting comparison between the change in character that Raven and Traegard share when the big baddie comes in, changes their character and their outlook on the whole show. In that series 1 two-parter where Michael Troughton's saying, what do you think she should do now? Send her back to the house. And it's just not really bringing it to life. And Rosey and I thought TJ was doing it rather better there, actually. And Rosey has this theory that they made up the absence of TJ in series 2 by giving Michael Troughton all these wacky, bright costumes.
With the pencil case round his neck.
Yeah, kind of trying to bolster the character in that way, as Michael Troughton wasn't making it pop himself. And I think Rosey has a point there. So as we discussed there could be financial issues involved. There could be Michael Troughton's interpretation of the role and slightly lackluster interacting with the teams during the gameplay behind that decision not to include him in Series 3. He could have wanted to leave. We don't know. But whatever the reason, I do think it suffers without him, because what he does do really well, I think, is all that TimeBusters go, welcome aboard my time bus. He evokes the character and interacts with the audience very well there. Shame he can't really carry it over into the gameplay. But overall, the show without him is not what it should be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I was looking out in the Pride of Bilbao episode when I was editing that podcast. Is Michael Troughton missing opportunities here to make it pop? I thought at times he was a bit sort of, oh, where's the second time capsule in his cabin? It's probably on the bridge. Don't look on the bridge. He wasn't really bringing it to life in that way.
He was probably pissed off. He was on this mini cruise and couldn't leave the room that he was in. Probably wanted to go to the bar, win the bingo, win 300 quid.
He's trying to get them through it so he can just go on and get on with that sort of experience. But those other bits, like bringing to life, oh, we've got to relocate, grab the console, you think you can be a time buster and so on. I love all that. But yeah, I think it's missing in the actual gameplay itself. And that's that point made, really, isn't it?
Yeah. You're not really a fan of Buster in this series, though, are you?
I think that is a fair assessment of my opinion of Buster in Series 2. That's nothing against Nicholas Collett.
Yeah.
I don't like the pitch they put on the voice or the really overdone fake Cockney that he has in Series 2. For example, the fake rhyming slang they put in, me microprocessors are in a right 2 and 8 gov, etc. I find it rather jarring and unnatural.
It's trying to be like a London bus conductor. That's what it is, isn't it?
Perhaps like Professor McNulty, they've tried a bit too hard.
Yeah.
So I do prefer Buster as the red face in Series 3. I hadn't really thought of him as Cockney there in Series 3, but they've certainly toned it down, I think.
Yeah.
Got rid of that fake slang. He's more natural, I find, in Series 3.
More EastEnders than Me and My Girl.
There we go. So that's the line to tread. But he shouldn't be there instead of Professor McNulty. And that's what I object to. If he'd been there backing him up as a red face in Series 3, like he did in Series 2 as a disembodied voice, that'd be fine with me. But as a presenter on his own, I think that's one of the show's main successful aspects taken away for Series 3.
It does streamline the show slightly, make it a bit faster paced, but at the expense of I don't know. It's definitely something missing.
Yeah, at the expense of giving it heart,
Yeah,
at the expense of really connecting with the audience
yeah.
that Nightmare does so well at its best. And that, again, is something that's missing from the end of Nightmare. Any sort of connection with the audience. Traegard and his special link with us, completely severed by Series 8. As these things get more virtual reality filled, more computer gamey than ever, I think losing that special human link with the audience, it's a shame.
Yeah.
And I think both shows do suffer because of it.
Welcome aboard, everyone. My name is Professor McNulty, and the strange little voice you'll hear from time to time is that of Buster. Say hello, Buster.
Hello, everyone. Buster here.
Right, now you know who we are. Let's find out who you are.
Eddie. Rebecca. Rachel. Emma. Dale.
Good. And what school do you come from?
Sheringham High School in Norfolk.
This takes me back to the Eye Shield special episode of Temporal Discussion, where Paul McIntosh mentioned that a lot of TimeBusters teams were quite local to the filming location of their episode to save on transport costs. For example, the Yellow team in that Series 1 2-parter I keep mentioning is from Lowestoft in Suffolk, which is just a stone's throw or a very short train ride from Somerleyton Hall, where the episode is filmed. While the team in the Pride of Bilbao episode is from Southsea. The ferry sailed from Portsmouth, of course, and Southsea is really a suburb of the city of Portsmouth. Ever been to Portsmouth and Southsea rail station, Martin?
Never to the rail station, but we used to go to Southsea quite a lot, but still go on it occasionally. I always take my kid there every time they stay over. I have some fun memories of Southsea. When I was in college, we borrowed the college minibus, and our tutor said that we were going to, the reason for borrowing it, because I did a performing arts course, the given reason was that we were going to visit this theatre in Southsea. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like the smallest theatre in the UK. So we visited the theatre, we stood outside the theatre, we looked at it, and we were like, yeah, that's fine. Let's go down the fun fair. And I remember it specifically because I'm a retro gamer, and this was at the point where arcades were still kind of clinging on. And we went to the arcade in Southsea, and they had a Simpsons arcade 4-player thing on there. And the legend was that if you had 4 players, you could pick up the car on the first level. And no one knew if this was actually true. And it was the first time I'd ever been in an arcade with 4 people to be able to test if it was true. And it was true. We managed to pick up the car, and it just felt like this massive moment. We then immediately all lost the game on the first boss, but it was this magical moment.
The Southsea is special to you too.
Yes.
As well as Portsmouth.
Yes.
And I think you'd agree they're part of the same conurbation, aren't they?
Definitely, yeah.
In this episode, the team is from Sheringham High School, as you just heard, and the filming location is the North Norfolk Railway, a truly wonderful preserved steam route that runs between the towns of Holt and Sheringham. So you see, they're local. Both of which are, unsurprisingly, in the northern part of the county of Norfolk. The journey takes in some of the best views of countryside and coast you'll ever see in your life, and I'd thoroughly recommend taking a ride if you get the chance.
Sounds brilliant. I've not been there myself, but we have a very similar heritage railway local to me called the Watercress Line.
I've been on the Watercress Line. I enjoyed that.
I had my 6th birthday party on the Watercress Line.
Yeah, I love those heritage railways. We always used to ride them on holiday. We were staying in a place called Ropley for that one.
Yes, Ropley is one of the stops on the line. Occasionally we do the RAT, which is the abbreviation of the Real Ale Train. It's basically a beer festival on a steam train, and it is brilliant.
Yeah, you can get some great events on those. Christmas events for the kids they normally have.
Hashtag not sponsored.
That's about any sort of preserved railway you can find in your local area.
Yeah.
They're always worth checking out, I find.
Definitely. And most of them are volunteer run as well.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful labour of love stuff. So I guess the North Norfolk Railway found it quite useful, profitable to close the line for a couple of days and film this TimeBusters there.
Yeah.
And it's good advertising for them too.
Yeah. Most of the episode is filmed at, now I'm going to pronounce this the local way of saying it, Webburn Railway Station, which is home to a passing loop and the mostly singular track route. And this is highly relevant to the plot of the episode. It will become apparent soon. Webburn is one of 2 intermediate stations between Holt and Sheringham, the other being the much smaller single-platform Kelling Heath Park.
Yeah, I call it Weybourne, but if that's the local way of saying it.
We have a local village by the same name.
It's getting close to action time, Gav, because we has arrived.
Yes, but when have we arrived, Buster?
1918, Gov. And the good news is we seem to have missed the Great War. The boys are coming home. But according to what I'm picking up, the journey ain't without problems.
Right, well, pop it up on the monitor. Now, ears and eyes, everyone. Concentrate, because this is your mission.
Yes, it's a long wait to It's a long wait to go.
All right, Jimmy, all right. I get the point.
And it's not my fault if some train's broken down somewhere.
Oh, yeah? It's a British train, isn't it? And you, Donald Rossiter, are a British officer. So it's all your fault.
Ah, so, Mr. Gladwin, you're not a British officer then?
Ah. Well, as of yesterday, no. I'm just a young, heroic American who gave up 2 years of college football, pop over to Europe, and single-handedly prevent you lot from being duffed up by the Kaiser.
Ah.
Why, hello, but things are looking up.
Sorry, gentlemen. No news from Melton Constable yet, so until the engineer gets here to fix the boiler...
We'll be lucky to see a train move today, eh, miss?
Oh, I think not. On this line, they may call us the Muddle and Go Nowhere, but the trains still get through most days.
I see, so there's no point in complaining to the station master then, huh?
Actually, it's a station mistress. With the war and all, it's surprising what us girls can manage, you know. Anyhow.
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
Vandal 2 receiving. Go ahead, Vandal 1.
Listen carefully, Symes, and this time, don't bungle it. I'll take care of the equipment in the signal box, and you must handle the failsafe. Do you understand?
Yes, failsafe. But what does it do?
Listen. The Muddle and Go Nowhere is a single-track railway. For 2 trains to collide on the same section, both must enter that section from opposite directions. Get it? The brass token we have made is a duplicate of the one carried by the express from Holt. Get it to me. And I'll make sure that young Mr. Jimmy Gladwin's next train ride is his last.
Understood. But how?
Don't be a dolt. The next section from your station is section 5. A little accident isn't due to happen until section 6. Now, you can either bring the brass token yourself or hide it somewhere on the train. Now, I have other business. Out.
Obviously, you know that Jimmy Gladwin is being played by James Hamill. But do you know who's playing Donald Rossiter in this scene?
I did look this up before this recording. It's Nick Collett.
It is.
I think he likes to play little in-game characters who don't do that much, doesn't he? He does it in the widely available Series 3 episode at the RAF base as well.
Yeah.
Listeners, I hope you recognise the voice of Iona Kennedy as the station mistress during that clip that you just heard. Notice how she says, ironically, it's surprising what us girls can manage. Because of the war, this will seem less ironic later when she enters Sidrus mode.
Yeah. Her accent in this, I find, does kind of drop out a couple of times.
Melton Constable. I'm not sure who says it that way.
After failing to cut the mustard as a phony pirate on the Pride of Bilbao, Symes is back to try his hand at being a phony train passenger. Or should that be a genuine train saboteur? Obviously, the unseen figure in the signal box to whom he was talking is Dr. Paradox, who is yet to reveal his disguise for this episode. I think Symes does a better job as a train passenger as he does as a pirate, to be honest.
I agree. I guess he's more directly involved with the plot. He has more to work with in this episode. Andrew Powery is great as Dr. Paradox in Series 2 and 3 of TimeBusters.
Yeah, he's like a proper pantomime villain. I love Dr. Paradox.
He is like a pantomime villain. He's theatrical, but he's also genuinely threatening. He shows an enormous amount of range, playing a different character every time. He's always entertaining and often amusing. Not always obvious to spot either. It's quite a fun little game you can play. Oh, is that Dr. Paradox? I particularly like the way he can inject so much venom into the phrase TimeBusters.
TimeBusters.
He does that brilliantly. He's got quite a lot to carry in Series 3, where he's the main human presence. bits, of course.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why they have him doing that bit of intro presentation to us, really, at the beginning of every episode of Series 3. And I think Series 3 benefits from that, with the lack of Michael Troutman.
Professor McNulty makes sure that the team has managed to get the gist of the scenario for this episode. Dr. Paradox is planning to cause a head-on collision between two trains on a section of single-track railway in order to kill Royal Flying Corps officer, until yesterday, James T. Gladwin. So this is like a Terminator plot for this episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
It must kill John Connor.
I'm getting something on this young Yank. Yeah, interesting. Gladwin, James T., ex-Royal Flying Corps, then Colonel USAF, then, blimey, pioneering director of US NASA Space Agency, prominent factor in the race for the moon.
Now we know who Paradox is interested in and why.
Team members want to warn the station mistress about the impending disaster. Professor McNulty confirms that this is the correct thing to do first and sets the runners on their way.
That's always the correct thing to do.
Identify the first person to talk to.
Yes.
From your initial spy cam footage, spyglass sequence. Yes.
Yeah.
You have to spot where's the start of the little series of tasks they set out for you. And in this case, yes, it is indeed Iona Kennedy as the station mistress.
Yes.
Now, straight into the station and let's gather some information, all right? Okay, stand by. I think I can hear a train. We better be quick. Stand by and TimeBusters, go! Go, go, go!
This is the kind of thing you just cannot get from a Vactor face, but the show really needs it, as I was saying earlier.
Yeah, the urgency.
Exactly. As a piece of interactive role play, that human presence interacting with the team and us brings it to life. And the Vactor face doesn't do that, I find.
Yeah. The runners locate the station mistress and tell her about Dr. Paradox's plan, but she doesn't believe them.
Look, it's absolutely totally impossible to have a train crash on this line. And let me tell you this, I am the station mistress, all right? We have a safety system. A surefire safety system.
Tell her about the duplicate section key.
Look, if you don't believe me, let me tell you. If you don't believe me, why don't you go and see Mr. Iverson, the signalman, and he will show you. He will show you our safety system, right?
Signalman Clem Iverson is played by the second and final Nightmare actor to appear in this episode, Mark Knight. He doesn't believe them either.
Second?
Unless we're counting, of course, Nick Collette, which I rather defiantly wasn't there because...
I know, I just wanted to make a thing of it.
Well, we all know why, don't we?
Are you Mr. Iverson?
Iverson? I'm Mr. Iverson.
Yeah.
Clem Iverson.
Yeah,
I'll do.
We need to talk to you about safety.
All right, well, I've just got to change the tokens over for this train, so come in with me a minute.
Right. Yeah. I'll follow him. See the token.
Change your tokens, tell him.
Now, what's this about the train? Safety about the train, you say?
Yes, because there might be a duplicate of the token.
Eh?
There might be a duplicate of the brass token.
No.
Well, someone's made.
No,
Ask
it's not possible.
See the token.
I'll show you how it works now, because I'm just going to do it. For this train, see? Hi, here's the token. All right.
Yeah.
There's the token. Now then, just hang that up there. Now, what to do, all right, I'll put this in here, like this. All right, you put it in. Now then, give this a turn, right? Give him a ring. All right. That's it. Now he's acknowledged me, see? I'm going to tell him that we're clear here. There's only one of these tokens. All right?
We know there's another one.
I don't be daft. Now, hang on. See, now he's acknowledged me, right? Now, check that's gone. There you are. See, it's in there. You can't get another one out now. There we are. Give him a ring. There we are. See? Now, when it's time to go, right?
What?
I'll get another one out of here. Lovely. When it's time to see it, they're both in there. When it's time to go, get another one out, give me another signal, send him off. See, it's not possible. Yes.
Ask him if he's the only one that can get to it.
One, so both the trains will get one and they'll crash.
Are you daft or what?
No.
Go on, I'm busy. Go on, get out of here. Go on, on your way.
The token method of single-track rail safety, as mentioned earlier by Dr. Paradox and described in detail here by Mark Knight, is undoubtedly rather antiquated now and is only still used in a couple of fairly remote places on the National Rail Network, though it remains common on preserved railways like this one. The method was quite widespread in Britain as little as 20 years ago, however. I remember taking a train on the East Suffolk line, which is a national rail route that runs between Ipswich and Lowestoft, in about 2005. There were stop notices on the platforms reminding drivers not to set off before all that token business had been sorted out. And that's what this episode reminded me of. I thought, oh yes, into the 21st century, they were using this token safety system. And yeah, researching this little script I wrote up, it's still used in a couple of places of single track rail in the country today. For example, the last section going up to Stranraer in southwest Scotland. It obviously still works, even though it's antiquated.
I actually found the whole token thing quite fascinating, to be honest. I remember, as I say, when I did the Watercress line on my 6th birthday, they actually showed us the token method.
Yeah.
So it was quite familiar.
Mark Knight is brilliant here, refusing to believe the token system could be sabotaged, telling the contestants they're daft and so on. The controllers were a bit slow to follow his lead, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just Mark Knight, but also Iona Kennedy in this episode. They're not just blanket believing these weird people who have turned up in red helmets and odd clothes. I mean, I kind of get it with the Pride of Bilbao one. They've already got 17th century pirates running around the ship. So, like, it's more believable that they would just go, yeah, okay, whatever.
The trick for the team is to find the character you're supposed to tell this to who's going to believe you. In Pride of Bilbao, it was Adrian Neal as the first officer. And as you said, that made more than enough sense there. In this episode, it's actually Jimmy on the train. No one's going to really believe it till then. They're just getting the background information. I noticed something similar happening with Mark Knight and his pirate character on the Pride of Bilbao. They were a bit too slow to realise, oh, we need to stop saying to him, oh, we want to talk to Blackbeard. It's about Dr. Paradox. If he's blocking to that extent, it means you need to move on and try something else.
Yeah.
Tricky for them in the moment, but something you do need to look out for as a TimeBusters player. And yeah, hopefully within the show, the way the characters react to these incredible things you're telling them does make a certain amount of sense.
So Mark Knight's accent in this scene, I believe, is based very heavily on Fred Truman, the cricketer. Especially if you look at, now this is an obscure reference, if you look at Fred Truman presenting the Indoor League and the way he says, now then.
Now then. Just slipped out for a minute from the biggest bonanza of sporting skill I've ever clapped eyes on. Down here at the Queen's Hotel in Leeds, we've got 60-odd of the best players I've ever seen in my life. None of your Charltons and your Geoffrey Boycotts, mind you. This bunch of lads are kings at those sports you get up and down the land in every pub. There's one fellow who's shown up from Scunthorpe in a 10-gallon Stetson hat, and he's floating coins around in the best game of shove halfpenny I've ever happened across. And there's two of the cockiest blokes, students playing table football, as though they were Giles and Bremner. So let's get cracking.
Yeah, he's certainly a Yorkshireman, Clem Iverson. And yeah, he's very entertaining here. But as the contestants eventually work out, they need to move on to the next stage before they really get anywhere with the narrative. After finally realising that they've got all they can out of this conversation, the team comes to the conclusion that the runners should just go ahead and get on the train. Buster then intervenes with another spyglass sequence. I mean, piece of spy cam footage.
TBs and Prof, I got some very urgent travel news for you, and it ain't concerning any bus timetables either. I'm eavesdropping down the other end of the platform, and I think you better have it too. Transmitting to visors now.
Vandal 2 receiving. Sorry, Doctor, but this reception's not good. We're just about to go, I think.
Do you have the forged brass token for Section 6?
Yes, with me now. And I'll give it to you in person.
No, you will not. I can't be seen with you either before or after the accident. Travel on the train by all means, but hide it somewhere where I can find it during my inspection.
All right, but where?
I would suggest in the...
Oh, would you believe it? Why does that always happen when you get to the best bit?
Did you get that?
Only just. This reception's getting worse, if anything. Consider it done. Over and out.
So Dr. Paradox is going to inspect the train. We can see from the sequence that he's wearing some kind of official uniform for this purpose. Armed with the knowledge that Symes is about to hide the duplicate token somewhere on the train in something, the controllers have gleaned. The team discuss what they should do next. A railway inspector turns up and orders them off the platform. So they board the train as planned and seek out the two soldiers, who are actually the only passengers in addition to Symes. Do you think the controllers want them to go over the bridge by any chance? They only repeat it 5 times.
Yeah, it was starting to get a bit hectic at that stage, I thought.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to interrupt, but we have to. There's going to be a problem with the train.
The problem with the train's been a problem with the train since we got on it.
I know.
There's a problem enough getting on the train.
There's a train from Holt, and that could come and crash with this one. You see, there's a key, a brass key, it's round, and there's been a duplicate made of it for Holt, because there's a man, he wants to crash the trains.
Hang on a second. What do you make of this?
Why on earth would he want to crash the train?
It's to do with your futures, what's going to happen to you when you're older.
This is never the right way to tell the characters that they're in danger from Dr. Paradox, actually mentioning it's to do with your future. James T. Gladwin, Jim Eater, his friend, played by actor James Hamill, as was mentioned earlier, comes up with a great response, however. You won't be able to see the gesture he makes, listeners, but he implies that the runners are all drunk.
Yeah, buying drunk children. I love it.
Have you guys been,
No, honestly, we tell the truth. We don't,
Now wait, let me get this straight. What, you know somebody is trying to wreck the train?
Yeah, have you seen the bloke with the black hat on?
It's him.
What's a
He's
bloke?
the one we want to look out for.
Well, it's a man.
A man.
Oh, a man.
A man.
No. Now, hold on. This sounds pretty suspicious. What do you think?
The chap on the station?
Yeah.
That's him. That's him. Tell him that's him, and he's.
That's right. There was a guy standing. This is sort of a tall guy with black hat.
So get them to help you search.
But you think he's the guy that's trying to wreck the train?
He's got the duplicate key.
And he's going try and get them to search for
Well, maybe
it.
we should take a look with you guys and help you out.
We need to find a brass key.
All right, what do you say?
Let's start
Right,
Don't worry,
let's searching.
let's take a look. Let's see what we can do.
Everywhere.
We've been out here, we've been right
Everywhere.
down.
Okay?
But we're just going to look everywhere, really.
The 3 runners and the 2 soldiers set off together to search the train for the duplicate token that Symes has hidden. What's a bloke? I love that. Well, it's a man. Oh, a man. Right. Nice little exchange there. Great improvising from James Hamill and Nick Collette, bringing the whole scene to life there, believably. I like that. I think the boy runner, Dale, did a very good job kicking off that conversation, though. Polite, but to the point. It's always rather awkward to engage the interactive cast in this way, to tell them things that the actors already know and get them to accept it in a believable enough way.
Yeah, you see it in Nightmare as well, quite a lot.
Yeah, and it's even compounded in TimeBusters, because at least the characters in Nightmare know they're in the dungeon and there are dungeoneers hanging around. These 2 soldiers are just supposed to be coming back from the First World War, sitting innocently on the train. There's a lot to get them to come to terms with in a 2-minute conversation there.
Yeah.
But props to Dale, I think he did a good job. And despite mentioning Jimmy's future, this is actually one of the less awkward and most entertaining exchanges of this kind I've seen on TimeBusters.
Got this image now of Doc Brown coming in. It's your future, Timmy. Something's got to be done about your future.
Yeah, you're supposed to be a bit more subtle about it than that. Although, they do have TimeBusters written on their uniforms, so...
Yeah. Maybe they think they're going around breaking clocks or something, like the Dam Busters, but they're going in to break the enemy's clocks so they don't know what time to attack.
Yeah, they're coming home from the war, having made their contribution.
Yeah.
Time busting. Yeah.
Yeah.
The runners find the token in some kind of drop-down compartment by one of the external doors and take it to Jimmy. They entrust it to his care.
Keep it out of harm's way so nobody bad can use it.
And warn him not to say anything to the railway inspector because he might be in on the sabotage. They seem to have realised that the inspector is Dr. Paradox. Well done. He's pretty heavily disguised and aged up and has altered his voice a great deal, but yes, it's him. I guess there's no one else Dr. Paradox could be really, though, at this stage.
No. It's like they've literally met 6 characters and 5 of them are definitely not Dr. Paradox.
It's one of his better disguises, but it would be even better with a larger cast. But there we go, it is a good one.
It would be interesting if in one episode they had Dr. Paradox use some kind of like a I don't know, a hologram device to completely disguise himself, make him a different actor. Or,
Yeah.
you know, perhaps having played by Iona Kennedy in an episode and seeing her take on Dr. Paradox.
All this future tech he has, that would be something very interesting to try in a Time Busters special. The runtime of the show is a bit of a disadvantage. There's a lot of gameplay and plot to squeeze in. It would be great as a kind of 45-minute special with Dr. Paradox in disguise, played by another actor.
Yeah.
Michael Troughton at the helm.
Even having change actors.
Yeah, you could have him change a couple of times. Buster has another spyglass sequence / piece of spy cam footage to share, showing Dr. Paradox deeply immersed in character as the railway inspector, as he speaks to the station mistress, whose name is finally revealed to be Miss Evans, first name Harriet, according to the end credits.
Something now, Prof. Not much, but I'll transmit it anyway. Shield your visors, TBs, because here it comes.
I must say everything seems to be in order, Mr. Evans. I'm not very pleased with your absence from your temporary post.
Dog can take things back at the station, Inspector. And I thought it more important that the train got through. And then there were these disturbing reports,
Oh, yeah, the funny young people in the red helmets. Oh, well, I'm sure we get to the bottom of that someday. Meantime...
Oh, yes, of course.
See what I mean about Sidrus mode? This is how she would dispatch a train.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course. And it's an interesting point she made earlier, of course, about the women stepping up to do things in the war. It's true in both world wars, of course.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there she undermines herself slightly.
Bundle 2, are you receiving?
Receiving, Doctor.
You've bungled signs, and I can't tolerate a bungler.
But how?
Never mind how. Suffice it to say, it's just as well I arranged a backup system. Our train may not collide with the Halt Express, but as soon as it passes the signal box at Section 8, it's going to run slap bang into one of the most nasty time warps ever created.
But you're crazy! There's only one device you could use to do that!
That's right. So you'd better be there to collect it as soon as the train has disappeared. Oh, and signs.
Yes?
If it's not there... don't bother to come back.
From this conversation, the team realizes the runners need to get off the train when it stops at the next signal and search for the time capsule. They persuade the two soldiers to get off with them just to make sure they're not going to get swallowed up by the threatened time warp. This is actually a bit exciting.
It is.
The idea of a time warp destroying history.
It's quite a major threat from Dr. Paradox after his main plan has been thwarted. I've written here, because I've watched this episode a few times and I didn't actually realise this until I was preparing our little podcast outline. This actually must be Kelling Heath Park, because they do get onto a small isolated platform. I suppose it wouldn't have been safe to have them jump down onto the line at the signal where Symes was standing just now. Though, of course, these are slam door trains, so it could be done.
Many, many years ago with the old slam door trains, I was on the way up to London for an acting job, but it was early morning and there was me and one other bloke in the carriage.
What's a bloke?
The one with
What's a man?
the man.
Oh, a man.
And he'd fallen asleep. And the train stopped between stations like it does sometimes. This bloke woke up with a start, jumped up, went out the door. Then there was a slight pause. He got back in. He looked at me and said, "You must think I'm really stupid." Then went out the other door.
They do rely on a bit of intelligence and self-restraint at times from the passengers, the slam doors, and it is much safer with the electric doors.
To this day, I hate being the first one getting off the train on the carriage. I hate being the one that has to open the door or press the button or whatever, because it just feels like so much responsibility.
It's pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got this queue of people behind you.
It always takes longer than you think it should for the thing to light up.
Yeah.
Did you notice Dale carrying Jimmy's suitcase off the train for him?
I did notice. It's very polite.
It was. Jimmy was rather miffed earlier that there was no station porter at Weybourne. Well, there has just been a war, you know, Jimmy. Dale also gives Jimmy a friendly wave goodbye before he follows the two girls down the footpath in pursuit of the time capsule. Dale really bringing it to life there, I thought. I enjoyed that.
I think Dale might have got quite pally with the two actors, to be honest.
Yeah, he's got a certain something about him, Dale. I do like that, and perhaps the actors did too.
Yeah.
Head towards the signal and try and look for the time capsule. Now, you've gone so far, I think we're going to have to relocate the bus. Is there any possibility of that, Buster?
How about 6 Mars due west, Gov. I'll give it my best shot.
The runners find the time capsule in the undergrowth near the signal.
I've put here, wow, the time capsule is actually somewhat hidden.
Keep it safe, stay this side of the fence. It's hidden somewhere around there.
Yeah.
They do have to dig about for it a bit, so yeah, better than just lying there on the side.
Yeah. That whole don't jump the fence thing, it reminds me of don't run on the ship.
Yeah, me too.
Safety first.
Like the things we were saying earlier, it might take you out of the fantasy roleplay a bit, but it doesn't damage the show, and yeah, safety is important.
Yeah.
As they make a dash for the bus, Symes spots them and gives chase.
Oh! Hey! Come here! Come here, you little cunt! Come here! Come back here! Get back! Don't carry that!
Quick, come on! Come on, you can do it! Come on!
Right. I'll go down and meet them.
Right. Come on, guys, you're nearly here! Come on! Come on! Go! Come on, Dale! Yes! Just wait, get to the bus! To the bus! Keep coming to the bus! To the bus! To the bus! Get on the bus! Get on the bus!
Quick as you can. Come along, well done.
Yes!
Well, great run, great win. And that's Paradox thoroughly derailed. Now, if you think you're bright enough to be a time buster, why don't you get in touch?
I thought Symes' looping run there was a bit unconvincing. He wasn't trying that hard to catch them.
No.
I prefer it when Dr. Paradox himself does the chasing. I always believe in that. Props to Andrew Powery again.
Yeah, because he's got that Terminator run, the T-1000 run.
Invite Robert Patrick into our special, play Dr. Paradox for a while.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
So overall, I think this episode is really everything a TimeBusters episode should be. A plausible piece of attempted temporal sabotage from Dr. Paradox, an engaging team, Dale anyway, I like him, who interact well with the cast in a very nice location that looks like it's really from another time period. What more can you ask from an episode of TimeBusters?
Exactly. It's all enjoyable nonsense with a little bit of education thrown in. It ticks along at a decent pace and a lot of care is taken, as you say, in the post-war aesthetics. Some of the accents are a little ropey at times, though, especially Iona Kennedy's kind of lapses a couple of times. But everyone's at the top of their game. Everyone seems to be having a laugh, and it's just fun.
Yeah, I definitely agree. An enjoyable episode, great location, and well worth talking through, I thought.
Yeah, I think so.
If you've been enjoying this podcast, you might consider leaving us a rating and review on your platform of choice. It really helps us grow and reach more people who might enjoy what we're doing.
You can also follow us on Blue Sky at nightmarepod.bsky.social and on Mastodon at topspicy.social/@nightmarepod.
We're Nightmare Pod on Threads and Twitter, and you can find us on Instagram at Temporal Discussion.
I've said it before and I will say it again. I will stop dead naming Twitter when he stops dead naming his child. We hate it when ads interrupt the podcast, so we're keeping this one ad-free with the help of our amazing supporters on Patreon. You can join them by supporting us at Nightmare Pod.
Speaking of which, here's a shout-out to our supporters, keepers of the Book of Quests, David N. Rabbit, Paul McIntosh, Peter Pulsford, and Scott Evans.
Advisors Benjamin Bloom, David Thompson, Kim Harder, which is a silly surname, Kim Stewart Crossley, who's she, Lord Entropy, where the O is a 0, Paul Craddy, Peter Sidorn, and Pig Venus.
Hello, piggy, piggy, piggy.
I'm glad you like that.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
And not forgetting our Dungeoneers, Peter Corridge, Dan Heath, and Adam Battersby.
If you want your name mentioned on the podcast, support us at Dungeoneer level or above on Patreon.
Patreon supporters also get access to exclusive episodes, merchandise, and if you pledge as a keeper of the Book of Quests, you'll even get the chance to join us as a guest on the show. If you so wish. No one's going to badger you into doing it.
I will.
Oh, right, I'll take that back. All our paid-up members also get access to each episode an entire week before everybody else, or even slightly longer if Martin forgets to release the free one.
Yes, which does happen occasionally. And I say paid-up members because we do have free members on there as well. Check out our website at nightmarepod.co.uk, and if you're after some temporal discussion merchandise like t-shirts, stickers, and more, head over to nightmarepod.redbubble.com. You can also drop us an email at podcast@nightmarepod.co.uk.
And just keep telling yourself it's only a podcast.
Isn't it? Drunk children. I love it.